Let's bring on, he's the voice of college football at this network, and I always feel like I'm a little bit of a mentor to him to teach him the game. It's a teaching moment. It's great to have Joel Klatt on the show. Klatt, how are you? You know, I saw Fred Couples. What'd you do?
All my research out.
Okay. All right, put that mic in front of you.
Making this a contest.
Well, I'm
Apparently you're making this a contest,
No,
so
I'm
here we
not
go.
really.
No, I'm ready for it now.
No, but I
can't throw it out there and then say, no, I back off.
Well,
so now it's a contest, so here we go.
Wait,
You
it's
ready
like
for this,
traffic
J-Mac?
on the freeway. When somebody pulls in front of you, you have to veer. And I said Seattle at 5 is fascinating because
I can't wait for 5.
Because what if people start jumping them for quarterbacks? And
Sure.
I think, I'll say it again, the best college football player I saw this year was Jalen Carter, regardless of position.
Okay.
Now, I know he's got character issues, but I don't care. He's a defensive lineman. That doesn't mean as much to me.
But if you wear your hat backwards as a quarterback, I'm done with you.
That's right. We have that established in this culture of the herd.
I got it.
Okay, are you ready to go? Now,
I'm ready. I got everything ready here. Here we go.
I
I love doing this. This is like I love this is fun, by the way. I really love doing this.
So do I. You know who the winner is?
The fans. That's
America.
right. America is.
All right.
Although they have to deal with J-Mac on the side.
What are the Jets?
Well, he took a shot at my Bijan pick, so I just threw it out there.
Okay, are you ready to go?
I'm ready.
I'm odd, so I get the odd picks.
The Carolina Panthers are on the clock.
So you finished dead last. You get the number 1 pick. Go ahead.
I had a worse year than you. Okay. Bryce Young, I worry about his size.
Okay.
I think he's the most ready to play. Frank Reich's a former quarterback. Listen, he's going to look small in the NFL because he looked small in college.
Yeah.
But this organization has been in quarterback chaos for 4 or 5 years. It's time to get out of it. I said this, like a 401k. Not everything lasts forever. Sometimes you got to take money out. Right now, they got to get quarterback out of chaos. He comes in, he's ready to play. In that cruddy, wonky division, you could compete.
Yeah.
And I have Bryce Young, number 1.
The Houston Texans are on the clock.
Okay.
Similarly to Carolina, Houston's got to figure out the quarterback position. And this is an easy pick. C.J. Stroud is the pick, the quarterback from Ohio State. C.J. is an excellent quarterback that has proven some of his naysayers wrong, in particular with that performance against Georgia and his ability to not only manipulate the pocket, but even make some plays with his feet at times. There's not a more accurate passer in the quarterback, communicates with his ball placement, and he's very smart, understands and processes information, not quite like Bryce Young, but very close. And one of the things I love about his game is that he plays with a bit of a chip on his shoulder. He wasn't the most highly recruited quarterback in the world, didn't study as one of these individual sport athletes types with an individual quarterback trainer. He's a bit gritty. People don't know that about him. I got CJ going to the Houston Texans.
A lot of those predetermined Ohio State reads worry me. But anyway, let's go.
The Arizona Cardinals are on the clock.
All right. They're going to go defense. They have a defensive coach. My guess is somebody in the building talks them out of Jalen Carter, which I think is a mistake. They take Will Anderson from Alabama, another edge rusher. I think they've had so much bad press in the last 6 months that some people are going to be a little fearful of taking Jalen Carter, who's got some baggage. So, the term they always use for guys like Will Anderson is like clean. He checks all the boxes.
100%.
He's productive. He's a good kid. He works hard. And I think there's some concern. They've had a bad 6 months in the organization. They don't need another 6 weeks of bad PR on Jalen Carter. So I think they go Will Anderson. I think in a loaded edge rushing draft.
Yep.
I had a GM tell me this week there's 12 guys he would have no problem picking at some point in the draft. They get probably the best.
What I love about Will Anderson, by the way, is that he is an alpha's alpha. Like, he's going to come in and be a captain. I think he's got the skill level to be and compete for a Defensive Player of the Year at some point. He's productive. He can play against the run. I do like that pick a lot. Now, if if we were doing this, I think you should have traded that pick because Arizona can get Will Anderson.
Well, we're not going to do trades.
I understand that, but this is just going above and beyond. I'm just going above. What should have happened is what I did in my mock, which is that Indy moves up a spot. Now, I'm going to give them the same player that I did give them in my original mock, and that's Anthony Richardson. They also have to figure out the quarterback position. At this pick, I know it's high, but I got to tell you, Anthony Richardson is a special talent, a very special talent. And there are flashes on tape of the greatness that you can project him to being the best player on the field. Now, having said that, he is a bit of a Rubik's Cube. You've got to figure it out. He's several turns away, but his ceiling is so high. His athleticism outside of the pocket is so special. I think that they don't. I think that they don't pass up on the opportunity to take Anthony Richardson. And one more thing about Richardson is that, yes, you can say that, like, there's a project nature to him, right? Yes, he needs to develop. Well, guess what? That's more common now in the National Football League than ever before. Okay. 10 years ago, I would have hesitated on this pick. But now, think about Patrick Mahomes was a project. We all raised our eyebrows when he was selected by Andy Reid. Jalen Hurts was a project. Lamar Jackson was a project. Josh Allen was a project. There are now projects. Heck, Justin Herbert had questions. I was one of them. I didn't think Justin Herbert was going to be great, and now he's great. Wow. People are taking a little bit more risk at the quarterback position, and it's working out because of where the game has gone. So I feel like Richardson to Indianapolis.
Some people invest in Bitcoin and NFT. I invest in IBM. Okay,
the
let's go.
Seattle Seahawks are on the clock.
What is that? What does that even mean?
I like a sure
I mean, there
thing.
are billionaires from Bitcoin.
Yeah, billionaires. They have those crazy eyes on the internet. Okay, so I'm going to have the Seattle.
Didn't it go to 30 2 days ago?
Seattle Seahawks.
To the moon.
Jalen Carter. I've had.
Come on.
He is the best player in the draft.
No, well, no, he's not.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Pete Carroll's history, USC and the Seahawks. He will take guys with a little baggage. He's not afraid of that. Hey, little baggage. You know what? Somebody married me. You know what my nickname was?
That's a bigger risk than taking Jalen Carter.
My nickname was Samsonite. Okay, so I have the Seahawks going Jalen Carter.
Dad joke I've ever heard.
And I think he fits the DNA of Pete and John Snyder, taking big swings.
Okay.
I think they will consider Will Levis, but they got a big arm guy named Drew Lock, and that hasn't panned out. Seahawks take Jalen Carter.
The Detroit Lions are on the clock.
All right, this is an interesting pick.
Yeah, I love this. This is a really interesting one. I can't wait till we get to Thursday night and we see like what Detroit does a week from today.
So what would you? Okay, you got it right now. Let's go.
I like what they've done in the offseason in the secondary, but I also think that they've probably done enough up front and still need to help out their pass defense. I like the best corner in my draft, Christian Gonzalez.
God dang it.
From Oregon.
On Raiders, I wanted him back.
I know you did.
God dang it.
And I've got Christian Gonzalez going right here to Detroit. Remember the Okuda move? This makes too much sense. You get your long number one corner. This guy has all sorts of ability, and he's just going to continue to get better. Love his bloodlines, by the way. You know his dad was a basketball player, 6'9" at UTEP.
I love this player. I love this kid so much.
He's instinctual. He's got good ball skills. He's tough. He'll tackle. This is a no-brainer for me. I think that Detroit takes Christian Gonzalez.
Okay, so I want you to know this is why the draft is good, because that was my pick.
The Las Vegas Raiders are on the clock.
Okay, the Raiders are going to do what they always do, reach. They're going to take Devin Witherspoon, the corner from Illinois, because it's a massive area of need.
Have to get it.
Yeah, they've got a decent left tackle, Colton Miller. They got an edge rusher. They got star back, star receiver, star tight end. They got their quarterback. They are bad on the back end, and it's a terrible safety draft.
Yeah, you can't go safety at this pick,
no,
so I agree with you.
I think they're going to go with a corner. There's also the kid, Joey Porter at Penn State. I think they go with this kid. Listen, people always say you just draft the best talent, not need. Even Belichick went and got a left tackle and a running back. So, what was the kid from Georgia? Not Nick Chubb, Sony Michel.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh,
why? I can't think
because
of his
they
name.
It was a bad pick. But the point being is,
it's got to be a mixture of the two.
You need a corner. He's a first-round player. It's probably about 6 spots above where you'd want to take him. Raiders go corner.
I tell you, if that happens, this is why I love it. Do we have the music?
The Atlanta Falcons are on the clock.
Oh, we didn't get the chime. Oh, there's the chime. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay.
I don't think there'd be anybody more pleased if this panned out this way. and Witherspoon went to Las Vegas,
Right.
Atlanta would run the card up. Tyree Wilson, edge rusher from Texas Tech.
Okay.
His upside is tremendous.
A little tall.
A little tall. Like, when has that ever been said about an edge rusher? Little tall?
He's not ready yet.
He's not. Listen, I think Tyree Wilson is a bit raw, but there is huge upside to this guy's game. The length for days, good athleticism. He can play against the run. He's not a specialist as a pass rusher. As he develops more moves as a pass rusher, I think he'll be highly productive. I think Atlanta needs edge help. We know that. They've got to get after the quarterback. They've got to do it in a much better fashion. And I think Tyree Wilson, who this one for me is not only good value because I think he's better than the 8th player in the draft, but he's also clearly, in my estimation, the second best edge rusher. And I think Atlanta would be thrilled with this.
Okay.
The Chicago Bears are on the clock.
Okay. They went defense last year. I think they go get Ohio State left tackle Paris Johnson, who's got, for his size, remarkable feet. Ohio State's got some NFL guys at that position. They got a lot of footage on him. Paris Johnson, just a really guy. I think he's the best tackle in the
pure
draft.
tackle. I would agree with that.
He's the best pure tackle. And they by the way, they addressed some stuff last year in the draft. But you can say once the 2 best edges are gone, and many people think they'd take the Van Ness kid from Iowa. I talked to a GM this week who said he's kind of an interesting fit for some teams, not for others. I think Paris is first of all, you need 2 great tackles now in the NFL because quarterbacks are so valuable. 54 quarterbacks played last year. Guys get hurt. Justin Fields got banged up. You got to protect him. Star left tackle. There you go.
Watch out for 2 names there that I think you should have taken.
Okay.
You should have taken either Nolan Smith or Miles Murphy. So watch out for those 2 on the edge players. But you didn't, which is good for the Eagles.
The Philadelphia Eagles are on the clock,
which I love. Listen, I have been baited into this now and basically challenged to do this. The Eagles don't need a lot. I think you would agree with that. Their roster is as good and as complete as any in the league. Because of that, I think what they're going to need to do is start to lean a little bit towards their quarterback and his new contract and give him the threats on the offensive side that some of the other quarterbacks have around the league and allow Jalen to continue to excel. You have to do that in a couple of ways. You've got to take pressure on him by being able to run the football. You also have to create short targets for him. And a guy that can excel in the short areas, in the middle of the field, screen passes, in order to get the ball out of his hands more times quickly than what he does now. So you've got to expose less hits to Jalen Hurts. You do that with a great, versatile running back in Bijan Robinson. I take him with the Philadelphia Eagles.
Oh, boy.
Bijan is the best non-quarterback offensive player in the draft. He's versatile. He can run it between the tackles. Great short area quickness and lateral movement. He can hit home runs. And I also think that he can have 30, 40, 50 catches a season because he's as good and clean a receiver as even Christian McCaffrey was coming out in his draft. So I like Bijan to the Philadelphia Eagles.
Well, you and J-Mac like that.
No, I'm sure he did.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
All right. And for what reason?
Well, he's clean. He's going to be a good player immediately.
Oh,
He'll
of course
be a
he
very
is.
good player
So
immediately.
what reason is this a bad pick?
It's not a bad pick.
Well, no, he's upset about it.
Well, thank you for letting me jump in. I would say without question the Eagles historically have put a premium on drafting in the trenches.
Yes.
And they leave the skill position players for later.
So watch my pick.
The Tennessee Titans are on the clock.
Okay, the Titans O-line's a disaster.
Yes, it is.
And so I think they're going to take the kid from Northwestern, Peter Skoronski, who they did not think would fall to them. I could have easily taken him with Chicago, but you take a left tackle over an interior lineman. I think he's the best overall line. He reminds me of Elijah Vera Tucker out of USC, who could basically play any position on the O-line and has. He got banged up last year. The Tennessee's O-line's a disaster. And so, listen, they need a lot. You could also argue Will Levis, but I think this kid's a 10-year starter in the NFL. Will Levis is a coin flip. So I got Tennessee taking an offensive lineman in 11.
I don't mind that at all. Okay,
the Houston Texans are on the clock.
All right.
Houston's got their quarterback. They need a lot of help. Their roster needs a lot of help. You could definitely go trenches here. I think that there's value in trenches.
Well, they already reached at quarterback with your pick, so what's the next one?
I'm sorry, reach?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, that's fine. I've got them taking my best wide receiver in the draft and C.J. Stroud's college teammate Jackson Smith-Njigba at number 12. Jackson Smith-Njigba, he has been forgotten about because he had the hamstring injury and did not basically play the entire season this last year. But people forget that in 2021, with Chris Olave and with Garrett Wilson on the same team, to a man, they would have all said and did tell me right to my face that Jackson Smith-Njigba was the best player. His ability to create completions over the middle of the field, create separation, run through that, yards after the catch, he will lead the league in receptions at some point in his first 3 or 4 years if he's in the right system, and I think he can do that with Houston and C.J. Stroud.
Okay, now
The New York Jets are on the clock.
This is tough. Now, this is by far and away my toughest pick because I was going to take that wide receiver.
I knew you were.
So, and all of a sudden now Will Levis is hanging out there, and the Jets are like,
Do we have Aaron? Do we not?
But now you got Zach Wilson and Aaron. You got too much drama. I don't need gun show Will Levis showing up to town. So this is the first. This is the first tough one for me.
Okay.
There's not another receiver worth this. Now I could make an argument. Michael Mayer, the tight end for Notre Dame, is a big need. Michael Mayer, he can block better. I think he block. Well, Kincaid can block a little bit because he's a Utah kid. They all block,
but not like Mayer. I agree with you. Mayer can act as a sixth offensive lineman if you need him.
Yeah, they're both. This is a great tight end draft. I like Joey Porter, but they've got a corner. They got two corners. They're not going to go corner. Do they go offensive line? I'm going to go offensive line. Broderick Jones, Georgia. I think I go that. Broderick Jones. J-Mac approves.
Look at this.
I think listen, it's one of those
J-Mac
where
J-Mac is the biggest offensive line
somebody's
going to
drop in this draft. And my guess is it's Will Levis or Richardson. Richardson has such an upside, to your point. Somebody's going to go with him. They got to get this thing figured out. The Jets don't have a lot of needs. Quarterback, left tackle, and I think tight end eventually in the draft. The Jets are very lucky. There's 3 or 4 good offensive linemen early in this draft, and there's a bunch of tight ends in this draft, and they need both. So I think the Jets go offensive tackle.
Man, I wanted him with my pick here at 14.
The New England Patriots are on the clock.
This is
my Raiders wanted your Christian
I know,
Gonzalez.
right? Listen, this is what makes this such a fun deal. And now I'm sitting there, and I think
it's hard. It's hard.
I mean,
do you reach on?
Do I reach on a tackle or do I take the corner? I think I probably take the corner. I think that
he likes corners.
He loves corners. He loves guys that can play man. He likes length, and he likes guys with bloodlines too. And that are kind of like football guys.
So you Joey Porter?
Joey Porter Jr. to New England. I like that pick. I mean,
he likes DBs.
He likes DBs, and I tell you, Joey Porter Jr. is not going to shy away from anybody. He got the toughest responsibility week in and week out. Love his mentality. Now, he can be handsy, right? And he can grab a little bit, but there are not many college corners that play this much man coverage that aren't, because they haven't learned that yet.
Belichick loves that.
I tend to agree with you.
He'd take an aggressive guy over a passive guy.
And he also is, you saw that last clip, those of you watching here on the herd, really willing and physical tackler. And I think that plays well with Belichick. So I'll go Joey Porter Jr.
Oh, Green Bay.
The Green Bay Packers are on the clock.
Now, the Packers never go offense, but I'm going to go with the tight end, who they need, Michael Mayer, Notre Dame. He's a blocker, a pass catcher, multiple-year starter. Notre Dame's good at this position. He's a smart guy. I just think he is, with Tanya now leaving town, Mercedes Lewis, about my age, they need a tight end. I don't think the Packers have a ton of needs. I think tight end, receiver, and edge rusher is one of them. They got very lucky. What they need, this draft provides.
Yeah.
A tight end early, receivers, edge rushers, second, third, fourth round. This is a good draft for the Packers.
I think that they could get a safety later, too. I know it's not a deep safety draft, but there's a couple floaters in there, like a Jair Brown from Penn State later in the draft. I think I would like that pick.
Boy, Green Bay, wearing those Dockers in that front office would be doing cartwheels.
Hey, I like my that was okay. So
the Washington Commanders are on the clock.
It's tough.
Dang it! I thought originally when I did this, I thought Joey Porter would be there still, and so this to me was an easy pick for Joey Porter for Washington.
Oh,
corner is a big area.
Do they
of
need safety? There's like 2 I like.
There's two I like, and one of them can play corner and slot corner and nickel, and he's versatile. I think I'm going right here, but, man, this feels like a reach. Here's the thing. I think Washington needs corners. I think they need offensive line. I'm debating between Darnell Wright from Tennessee, the offensive tackle. I liked his game, and Brian Branch from Alabama.
That's who I thought.
That would be my toss-up. I'm gonna go Brian Branch because I love Brian Branch. Yeah. He is a Swiss Army knife style defender.
Yeah,
he can cover in the nickel. He can go play deep safety.
Yeah.
He can play in the box. He also played as a true freshman for Nick Saban in the secondary, which is hard to do. He's very smart, highly intelligent, hard worker, all of those things. I think he's going to be a better pro than maybe we are giving him credit for during this process. So I'll go Brian Branch there to Washington.
Okay, so now let's look at our picks. I have one I don't like, but I got trapped. I'll tell you right now.
Because you wanted Gonzalez with Vegas.
No, I look because so they went and got a safety in a corner. The Chicago Bears pick for me. So they did. They loaded up on O-linemen last year. Some can play, some can't. They don't need a running back. They got B running backs. They're fine. Skoronski, I think, is the best overall. But do you go interior there? They don't need a receiver.
Why didn't you go defense there? Again, I thought the defense would have been a good spot.
By the way, I look at your picks. They don't need a corner necessarily or a safety. So you drafted a wide receiver and a running back. What are you talking about?
Listen, I love my picks.
You don't have a single pick you're a little hesitant about.
I loved that. For me, I did not think Tyree Wilson was going to be there at 8. I don't think Atlanta thinks he's going to be there at 8. And then with the Bears,
see, the Raiders can't take. He's a good player, but they got Max Crosby.
I understand. And I get that totally. Though here's the one area that I think that two guys that I think could fall. Will Levis, which we have falling here, right? And I don't think he's in the top 16. No. We don't have him in our 16. I think it's very easy to go through 16 picks and be like, yeah, I don't see Will Levis.
One GM I talked to like him, 2 did not. So I have a lot of people questioning.
Yeah, it's a little all over.
Well, and what they said is even when he had time to throw, he still made bad decisions.
There were decision-making issues and then just straight turnovers, right? And those can follow you. Remember Jameis Winston. He had a lot of turnovers at Florida State. Those kind of followed him into the NFL. And the other one that you did not pass up on, but I do think people could pass up on and could be there for Chicago at 9 is Jalen Carter.
I think they would take Jalen Carter.
I do too. I think that's his floor. If he gets to Chicago, I think that they take him, and I think that there's a chance he gets to Chicago.
I like your picks. Let me see Klatt's picks again. Let me see.
No, you don't like Bijan. And J-Max over here shouting about linemen.
No. Bijan's very good. He's a very good player.
And
but
you saw where I got there, right? The whole thought process of giving Jalen an opportunity to play while taking hits off his body.
I think that's very smart. He's a clean player. He checks all the boxes. Good kid. Good. I watched him a lot in college. He's great.
Apparently, I don't like trenches. Look at that. Look at that. I've got QB, corner, edge, running back, wide receiver, corner, safety.
Look at Cowherd.
J-Mac, if I'm a GM, we're just going playing 7-on-7.
Well, I was just looking at the Washington depth chart, and we know safety's not a premium position.
Right. Yeah.
Why wouldn't you draft an offensive lineman?
Well,
because I just didn't love the value there. Okay, so that's when, again, my next offensive lineman on my board is Darnell Wright.
That's who I have going to.
I think that's too expensive.
Okay, so one of the arguments for Wright is his tape against the kid from Alabama, Will Anderson, was incredible.
Good.
Totally shut him down.
I won't say it was incredible, but it was good. It was good. I also know that Darnell Wright came in very highly recruited and didn't do anything for his first, 3 or 4 years.
That's a good point.
And then had to move to right tackle. And then finally, when everything was right with the entire team, well, now it's good tape. It's like, well, where was that the rest of the time?
So he came in with some baggage as a high school kid, his family, he went through some stuff.
Yep.
And there was some instability in the program. And then once they got good this year, he kind of matured and he's almost undervalued. If you look at some of the gambling odds, there's a case for Wright going.
So we didn't have Will Levis getting picked.
Yeah, that's insane.
No.
What do you mean? I don't think it's insane. I don't think it is.
I don't think so either.
The Indianapolis Colts absolutely love him.
I think the Colts, but remember, once one team, remember the year Aaron Rodgers dropped. there weren't that many teams from like 8 to 15 that needed a quarterback.
That's right.
So if Indy passes on him, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, what? I mean, he has him taking Richardson. Then who needs a quarterback? There's a lot of these teams. Remember, once you get to the middle of the draft, those guys have functional quarterbacks. Okay.
There's 3 teams that absolutely need a quarterback, which means one of these guys is falling. I think it's Will Levis.
How about Seattle? Would Seattle's second pick take Will Levis?
Yeah, maybe their second one.
If they got Jalen Carter, I could see them, because Seattle's got a luxury second pick. I'm going to read you something about can I read you something?
I'd love it.
Okay, this comes from another guy that watches a lot of college football like you, Will Levis. Let's see, hold on.
Just so you know, like in my entire first-round mock, I didn't have Levis.
Can I ask you, you're a former quarterback, Joel. Yeah. How much value do you put in him playing in 2 NFL systems under offensive coordinators from the NFL, as opposed to Richardson, who had kind of a choppy situation with Mullen and all the stuff that went on there the last couple of years?
Definitely a thing. I don't think it's quite as important as it used to be because the nature of the offensive game and the schematics of the NFL have moved so much further towards the college game. So you've got a lot more of that, and I think it's an easier transition now than it used to be. I also think I got to be honest. I'm hung up on the fact that I cover Penn State a lot, and we're not talking about a guy who couldn't beat out Dwayne Haskins and had to transfer to LSU and Joe Burrow. That was a bona fide, both great players. Someone has to lose the job, and the other is going to go and take another opportunity. And Joe Burrow goes to LSU. Will couldn't beat out Sean Clifford, who's also in this draft, and we're not talking about him.
Yeah. That's fair.
Like he's like 25, right?
And I mean, Sean, you're saying?
Yeah, isn't he older?
He's a little bit older, but not a lot older. And listen, that is hard for me to get over.
Yeah.
I know Sean. I know the system. I've talked with those guys, and the fact that he couldn't beat him out sticks with me. And then the last thing that I would say about, and this is, by the way, this is my least favorite part of the draft process, is that you have to argue against a player. He's still in my top 30, 5 players overall. So it's not that I don't like him. I think Will Levis is incredibly talented. I think he's going to get drafted, and I wish that, and I hope that he has a lot of success.
But somebody's going to drop in this draft.
But someone's going to drop in this draft.
Every year.
And why, for me, it's the guy that turns the ball over too much, that didn't elevate his team in particular to the level that the other guys did. I mean, name a game in which Will Levis was just the reason Kentucky went out there and won a game. Late, gritty,
he didn't
plays.
They didn't have a lot around him.
I get it, but you can turn that on and you can see all the other guys raising the level of all the boats in the harbor, around him, and the level of play of all the guys around him. So again, I hate knocking guys, but that's why I think Will fall.
Pete Carroll and John Snyder are going to be high-fiving all the way down to Olympia if they get Jalen Carter at 5. Do you know how happy Pete's going to be?
Maybe.
When Pete went to USC.
Let me put it this way.
When Pete went to USC, do you know his first big recruit? The defensive tackle.
What was his name? He's the kid from
short
here.
name. Yeah. Not Seth Ellis. It was
no, I can't think of it.
It's off the. I forget. He was a great player. He was a Pro Bowler. Sean Cody.
There it is. Sean Cody. Who's a great dude.
Everybody talked about Matt Leinart. When Pete Carroll got Sean Cody at USC, he told people in the building, "Okay, here we go. Here we go."
I mean, do you think there's any question that Jalen Carter will be there at 5? There's no doubt in my mind he's going to be there at 5.
I would take him. Laramie Tunsil had a little smoke around his face on draft day. Dropped. He's been a great player. And by the way,
but you didn't hear the level, like.
Yeah, I know
that was like a couple poor decisions.
Yeah.
Jalen shows up and can't get through a pro day workout. Nolan Smith has got to be sitting there like, come on, man, stand up. Like, that's a problem. That's your job interview.
Listen, it's one of these, the hard part about being a general manager, these are kids. They're like 22. I mean, I was a tire fire at 23. And I came from, lived in the same house. I mean, we didn't have any money, but it was like same high school. Some of these kids have had chaotic lives. Fair. It's, So.
No, that's fair. Now, I mean, is the NFL the place that you go to change, or is it just like whoever you are, it becomes that on steroids?
Good question. I think Pete views himself correctly
as a change agent.
That's a way to. I think Pete's great at that. I watched him change a lot of lives at USC. He's taken big swings on guys in the NFL. That's one of Pete's things. High energy and optimism. He is a teacher. Greg Olson told me when he is at Fox, I asked Greg once about meetings. He said, you can't believe Pete Carroll's meetings. Because you can't believe him. He goes, every detail, every inch. He goes, when he's playing Belichick in Super Bowls, that is a chess match.
Sure.
It is a chess match back and forth. And I think Pete's been doing this long enough. He has a system. And we've talked about this. Pete's great with young players. After about the 30th speech, by the end, Earl Thomas got tired.
He's like, okay.
Okay. But in the first 4 to 5 years with Pete, he's magic. He and Russ wore each other out after time. All right, that was fun.
I mean, Russ wore all of Denver out last year.
Now,
so.
Come on now.
That's true.
Can't blame him.
You can't?
Little bit. 9%, 8%.
Yeah, but at least he doesn't wear his hat backwards, right, Colin?
That's right. Stuff that matters. Finally, you've come to terms with it.